Although the Matrix is evil, in many ways it is necessary, but society as a whole has to be controlled and constrained. And we have all these different people with all these different ideas, many of different races and religions, different upbringings, different versions of history, and we're all living in very close proximity to one another. And this is a relatively new thing, right? We were in clans where we understood each other completely because we were familiar, or we had the same version of history, the same stories we were raised on. Even in the 80s and 90s, even when I went to school, everyone talked about the TV show the night before. Everyone watched the same TV show that day. But now there's Netflix and the internet. I'm sure none of that exists anymore. So we're not bound together by anything.
Right.
So the Matrix is a false version of reality, which they're constantly purporting into the population, trying to keep everything together, trying to keep all of these different people with all these different ideas functioning as a cohesive society. But effectively in the West, what they've decided to do is just endlessly lie to us. And the version of reality and the version of history, especially, that we've been told is a lie. The institutions that we're told to believe in are corrupt. The education system is corrupt. The medical system is corrupt. The judicial system is corrupt. You name a system, it's corrupted. All of them are. Yeah, we're told go to school, work hard, get a degree, you'll get a job, you'll end up rich, save for your 401k, don't worry about your pension, you're gonna own your home one day, vote for your candidate, it really matters, and you're gonna be a happy citizen. And it turns out every single part of that is a lie. And that is the Matrix. And the reason I call it that is because of the movie. In the movie, that Neo is living in a false version of reality, which is very separate and different than the real reality, just to keep him placated so that his body heat can be harnessed by the machines. And that's effectively what the governments of the West are trying to do now. They want you to pay taxes, you need to work, and they want to keep your mind distracted and placated enough for you to continue to pay taxes, even though your cost of living keeps going up, your living standard keeps going down, crime keeps going up, you're miserable, the traffic and the commute is getting worse day by day, your life is degrading in real time, your only chance to get out of it is to get rich. You can't, and you're stuck. So they have to broadcast enough garbage into your brain that you get distracted by TikTok and being stupid enough to pay $700 to go watch Taylor Swift. A concert is the Matrix. Look at these people screaming, jumping up and down, looking at an artist they've already heard the song from 50,000 times, idolizing this person like they're Jesus. And they can't even pay their own bills. Those are the people who have been completely psyoped by the slave mind. You are allowing yourself to be distracted with bread and circus garbage as your actual life and the things that matter crumble around you. When I speak and I say these things, I think 1 in every 10,000 people understand me. And I hope the other 9,999 don't understand me, to be honest with you. Because for there to be winners, there has to be losers. I like that the Matrix exists as long as I'm not in it. I want to be outside of it. You know, it's fine. I like that they inflate the currency because I own a bunch of real estate. It's fine to me. I win. But if you want to win, you got to escape it. And I think the way to do that is different for men and women, to be honest. I can only talk from the masculine perspective because the masculine perspective is the only one I know because I'm a man. It is far more difficult to achieve a genuinely unique status than it's ever been because money alone doesn't work anymore. We live in Dubai. Who doesn't have a Lambo? Who cares? Who doesn't have money? Who cares? Right? So you can't just have money. You need to have money and charisma and intellect and wisdom. And you need to be smart. You need to be brave.
And physically fit.
And physically fit, in good shape. You have to add all these things together. And then you need status. You need clout. You need to add all of this up. And it's getting harder and harder for men to break through to that 1%. And the true answer to all of these things is you need to be prepared to take risks and suffer the pain of failing because you're not going to win every single time. It was easy for me. I think it is easy for winners to win. Yeah, that's true. I think it's easy to make money. But in the world today, I see a lot of people who make money and think that's enough. They still think it's the 1995 or something where you could have money and that you're somehow somebody.
Do you think it matters how you make the money?
I'm going to answer that by talking about my own personal story where I had made money in a you could argue, morally, you could say it was wrong. I mean, illegal, no. Moral, again, you could argue back and forth about it, but I'm not going to do that. But I would say that there is a karmic retribution in the universe. And if you take dirty money, you're going to pay the price for it one way or another. I think if you scam somebody, you pay the price for that. I think if you rug pull crypto coins, you pay the price for that. I like to believe the universe is fairly balanced. And I like to believe that everybody gets what they deserve, both the good and the bad. And I like to believe that I deserve all of the amazing things I have, and I deserve all of the bad things that happen to me. And that's probably me optimizing my mind for competency and the capability to deal with things. Because if something bad happens to me and I believe I deserve it, it's much easier than going, oh, poor me. I don't have a victim mindset. So when bad things happen to me, I'm like, okay, well, I didn't realize that I cut someone off in traffic 3 weeks ago, and that delay caused them to miss the birth of their child. So I deserve this.
You deserve to be in Romania.
I deserve to be in Romanian jail. That's just how I optimize my mindset. So I never feel sorry for myself. And I think the reason I do that is because it allows me to handle things easier. The reason now in the current position I'm in, where I could rake in $300 million in a week if I want to scam people. I won't do it because I believe that you'll pay the price for that. And I'm not talking about pay the price legally. I'm talking about paying the price cosmically, universally. I think things all balance out in the end. So by extension, to answer the earlier question about is it easy to win, I think that every single person watching this has exactly what they deserve. I think everything good in your life, you deserve it. Everything bad in your life, you deserve it. If you're important and famous, you deserve that. If you don't deserve it. You have exactly what you deserve. Where you are and who you are is what you should be. And if you wanted to be something else, you would be something else. This is how I approach the world. If this building collapses, it's my fault.
How so?
Because as I walked into the building, I should have used my unmatched perspicacity and Aikido ninja mind to detect the crack in the foundations. Instead, I failed. I wasn't paying enough attention. I was looking at my phone, texting somebody, and now look, I died. My fault. I take responsibility for absolutely everything in my life. What they did to me was unfair, yes. But is it my fault? Well, I did attack the Matrix. I did go to war in a battle of influence against the most powerful governmental systems on the planet. I did say things which could have been taken out of context. I did brag and be brash and run around in my Lambo with 3 girls in the passenger seat. I did all of this. Is it fair how they spun it and attacked me with it? No. But I don't think as a full-grown man, I can sit here and say it's not my fault. I still did certain things. If someone runs up to me on the street and stabs me to death, is that fair? No. Do I deserve it? No. But is it my fault? Yes. I should have seen him coming. I should have heard him coming. I should have had security. I should have known he was after me because we argued the day before. Everything is my fault. So fault and fair in the amateur mind are conflated. In my mind, they're very different things. It's unfair what they did to me. Yes, they lied about me. Yes, I'm innocent. Yes, it was a setup, but it's my fault.
Do you think that applies to women as well? They need to take the responsibility for whatever happens to them.
Yes. Now, in true misogynistic style, I'm going to have to say that women, by and large, and obviously exceptions do disprove the rule, struggle with personal accountability more than men, by and large. Correct. And I'm not saying all women. Yes. And the reason for that is because when you blame yourself for things, you become competitive. And the world for a man is actually more competitive than the world for a woman. And women, to a degree, not all women, but some women manage to get by not being particularly competitive. They're just pretty, or they know enough people. And they just go through life not really blaming themselves for anything because they don't have to optimize in any way. But if you want to optimize yourself, you always have to take fault for everything all of the time. I said something before about that the BBC still use against me to this day. I said if a woman goes out and she meets a man she doesn't know, and she's wearing a short skirt, and she gets drunk with that man, and then she sniffs cocaine with that man, and then she kisses that man in the bar, and then she goes back to that man's hotel room, and then cries rape, I blame the woman. And they said, in the BBC, Andrew Tate says women are responsible for rape. And what I'm trying to say is that we need to have personal accountability in all things because the world's not a perfect place. Am I saying she should be raped if she ends up in that hotel room? No. What I am saying is that the world's not a perfect place and people do bad things. And her, as an adult, should have enough personal responsibility to not put herself in a position where it's easy to allow bad things to happen to her. Just as I, as a man, don't allow myself to be in a position where bad things can happen to me. I won't go to Kandahar right now and get shot with an AK because I know that there's people there who might kill me. We all have to have personal responsibility, but the world is now skewed. And we live in this very unfair dichotomy of this double standard, which is applied to men in this matriarchal matrix system where women are girl bosses and better than us at everything and beat us up on Netflix shows, while at the same time, anything that happens to them wasn't their fault. A man made them do it. And we have these two things sandwiched together. And as a man, you're stuck in the middle. Imagine you're a 17-year-old boy, you're going to school, you're watching Netflix, you're watching TV, you're watching these things. They're telling you women are better than you at everything. They're trying to make you into a girl. They're trying to make you talk like a girl, think like a girl, be a girl. You turn on Netflix, the mom is smart, the dad is dumb. There's a little woman beating up 55 men on every single TV show. Your masculinity is permanently under attack. But then you get a girlfriend and you're with her for a few months, then you break up, and then she cheated on you, but that's your fault because you could emotionally manipulate, or you were a narcissist. So everything she does is your fault, but you have no authority, but you have all the responsibility, but you're also her inferior while capable of making her do things she doesn't want to do. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And we can actually talk about this from a biological perspective, because we talk about how women don't want to take accountability for things. But one of the reasons they get away with that is because men, by and large, as a society, allow women to get away with these things.
Yeah.
Because we are programmed to protect women. Because if you have 100 men and 100 women and a war comes, the reason the men go fight, because supposedly the patriarchy was so evil and mean. If you listen to a feminist, history is patriarchal. The patriarchy is disgusting. Turns out it was men who were dying in a ditch, getting shot while you sat at home with the kids. But no, we were supposedly bad. Why do we send the men to go fight? Because if it was truly a patriarchy, we could sit around and say, I'll send my women against your women. Baby mama battle. I'll send my chicks. You send your chicks. They can fight. I'm going to sit here. I'm a king. I don't have to go fight and die. Why? Because if you have 100 men, 100 women, and 95 men die, well, those 5 men can still impregnate the 100 women. Your tribe will survive. If 95 women die with 100 men, your tribe's over because you can't reproduce fast enough. So men have been programmed evolutionarily across thousands of years to protect women by and large. And you see this all the time. And that has been hijacked now to the point where women, when they don't want to take responsibility for their own actions, have men jump up and jump around them to defend them. This happens all the time. A porn star will come out after doing 500 porn scenes and say, I was fooled and tricked. My mom was a drug addict and it was unfortunate. And then this manager met me and he seduced me. And now I'm suing him because I didn't want to. Whether that's true or not, you could debate. But what's interesting is thousands of men will start going, yeah, poor girl, instantly defending her. They don't even know if what she said is true. She could have come from a white picket fence Christian household. She just made it up. And I saw this very recently with Lily Phillips. I see Lily Phillips going on these podcasts and you have all these conservatives, these Republicans, these masculine men trying to convince her that, what's happening to her is wrong and she needs to look at her childhood and work out why she did it, etc. To me personally, I just think she's a whore, and whores have always existed, and she can go be a whore, and it's her decision, and that's what she's doing, and I don't feel any instinct to protect her. Now, maybe I'm the broken one, but I see a bunch of dudes trying to stick up and protect her. She's making her own decisions. You want to talk about personal accountability? There it is. Let her do it. Let her suffer the consequences. Who cares? If we're going to live in a society where women are not accountable for their own decisions, why can they vote? Exactly. Why can they be in charge of governments? Why do we listen to anything they say ever? If we live in a society where women are not responsible for their own actions, which means by extension, they're not responsible for any of the actions which take place because of their ideals that they promote. If a woman wants to sit there and say, we need transsexuals in school, drag story, child book reading, we need this because it makes me feel good. But I'm not responsible for what happens to those children. I'm not responsible, and I'm not going to take accountability for how bad an idea this was. I just want it so I can say I'm a good person. My question is this. Until women are prepared to take accountability the same way men are, why do we listen to anything they even say? And this is why I'm called a misogynist, and this is why I say things that upset the matrix, and this is why I get in so much trouble. But I don't listen to what men say who don't take accountability either.
Absolutely.
The thing is, the matrix, they gender most of my arguments, and they say I'm talking about women. I'm not only talking about women because exceptions do disprove the rule, but we have to talk about generalities. In general, men take more accountability than women because in general, men have to be more competitive than women. But there's plenty of men who don't take accountability either. There's plenty of them.
Absolutely.
And I don't talk to them either. I mean, I judge people on their appearances all the time. I judge books by their cover. All day, every day. If I look at you and I feel like you're weak, I don't believe you have personal responsibility. I don't believe you have motivation. I don't believe you have dedication. I don't believe you can keep donuts out your mouth. I don't believe you have any self-control. I don't talk to you. I don't like you. Call me fatphobic. I don't care. That's my decision. I'm rich. I don't need you. So I don't talk to you. Because I believe you're the kind of person who will not take accountability for their actions. Because you're eating donuts all day, you're becoming obese, and you're blaming your fucking thyroid. So you're a dumbass. So I don't need you near me or around me because you're not responsible for your actions. If I lend you my car and you crash it, you're not going to come to me like a man would do. But what a weakling would do, or someone who doesn't take accountability, is they say, I crashed the car, but it wasn't my fault. What happened? Well, this guy, he just pulled out of nowhere and he just came and then the tree just grew out of nowhere and was just in the middle of the road and I hit the tree. This is a test for everybody at home. Ask a man if he's ever crashed a car and he'll say yes or no. And if he says yes, he'll say why. And he'll probably say, oh, I was drunk or I wasn't paying attention. He'll blame himself. Ask a woman if you ever crashed a car. Yeah, I've crashed. What happened? Oh, it wasn't my fault. Every time it's not their fault somehow. Somehow the tree just grew in the middle of the road.
I've been there.
Well, this is the thing that's interesting. In the West, if they have an idea that they want to psyop the population with, they aim for children and women first. They don't aim for the men. We're hard to convince. Men are hard to convince. They aim for the women and the children.
That's welfare.
Well, that's welfare. That was COVID. COVID was simply grandma's going to die. And that makes women go, grandma, because women are emotional. You can manipulate emotions. Men, we're not as emotional. You have to come to us with facts. And I'm like, okay, well, how many grandmas? Whose grandma? Not my grandma. She's built different. I don't care.
That's what they did with the October 7th. The first thing that came out was beheaded babies.
Of course, a lie,
to
psyop.
Trigger women.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So in the matriarchy of the West that we live in, we're living in this matriarchal society where the people who have the most power, because women are more powerful than men in the West, they pretend that they're living in a patriarchy because men make more money and all this bullshit. There is not a single law in the Western world that benefits men over women. And I can name endless laws that benefit women over men. A woman can destroy a man's life at random with a single accusation and no proof. She can take his house he worked for. She can take his children. She can take his money. The richest women in the West, the top 10 of them, got it all via divorce. Men get wrecked by chicks. Chicks run it. It's female world. And I'm saying that they've done this on purpose so they can come along with emotional arguments, because emotional arguments are a very easy way to psyop people. We need to remove the border. Here, look, there's a kid. Look at the kid. He's crying. Well, my answer is, does he have a passport? Because if no, he can't come in. He should go cry at the passport office in Mexico. I don't give a shit. Whereas a chick will be like, oh, the kid. And this is the thing that's so misunderstood. When I say these things, they think I want women to act like men. No, I don't. We're very separate. We have different power structures, different capabilities. Women can do some things better than men. Men can do some things better than women. The problem with Western society as a whole is that those jobs have been inversed. So I'm not saying I want all women to think and act like men. Women are just as powerful as men. We just have very different, distinct roles. You can't argue that a boat is more important than a plane. It depends. Well, you don't want a plane on the ocean, and you don't want a boat in the sky. So we do very different things. And the world is a very difficult place for young men, and it's a very confusing place for young women. For young men, it's difficult because when I was 16, 17, I mean, Dubai didn't exist, but I didn't know where Monaco was. I didn't see Instagram reels of Monaco. I'd never seen a Lamborghini in my life. The women I was talking to in school had never seen one either. Like if you're an 18, 19-year-old kid today, the girl in your college who you like, who's 18, 19, she has millionaires blowing up her phone, trying to fly her all around the world. You're just a Joe average brokey. So it's very difficult to be a young man. I don't think it's confusing. Young men know what they need. They need power and status and influence and money, and they're being constantly exposed to this whole world that they want to get access to that I was fortunate enough to not see. But that's why it's difficult to be a young man. To be a young woman, I wouldn't say it's difficult. I'd actually say it's easy but confusing. Because they have all these options now. They're 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever. They can be born in the middle of nowhere. They can be in Transnistria. It doesn't matter. If they're hot and they have Instagram, they're getting invites. So as long as they can go cry at the passport office, they now get access to the highest tier of life that exists on the planet. If you're a man and you want to get on a boat, you have to work. If you're a woman and want to get on a boat, you need an Instagram picture. So life can be easy for women materially, at the cost of their soul, and it's very, very confusing for a woman, because what do you do as an 18 or 19-year-old girl? Society used to have an easy laid out path for people. A woman would meet a man, they'd fall in love to some degree, they would have children, they would be married, she would become a mother. By the time she's 22, 23, that was what women did. And then for whatever reason, feminism came along and women decided that the patriarchy is terrible and they didn't want to listen to their husbands and they wanted to be set free to make their own decisions, for better or for worse. We gave it to them, and now they've been set free. So what do 18 and 19 and 20 and 21-year-olds do now? They run around talking to dudes on Instagram, trying to get Birkin bags and Instagram likes. And they can only do that by hyper promoting their sexuality, as you just described, so they can get as much attention as possible, because you have to try and garner attention, whether it's negative or positive. I'm one of the most Googled men in the world, and I said Lily Phillips' name. Why? Because she goes. That's the bottom line of it. It's truth. So women are just using their sexuality now to try and get as much attention as possible. They're being thrown out into a dating market with the most desirable men on the planet. They end up having to share a man who can get any girl he wants, because they only want a man of a certain status, and all women want him. So there's 1,000 women per one man. They're running from dude to dude, relationship to relationship, getting their heart broken over and over and over again, until they eventually realize they have to settle down to some degree. Then they end up upset that they can't settle down with the kind of guy they were with 10 years ago. They get into some resentful relationship to eventually have children or offspring or whatever it is. Like, everything is completely broken now. And it's broken because women said, we didn't want to listen to men anymore. What's interesting as a thought experiment, and I don't know, women will have to answer this. Every time I see a woman complaining that men aren't loyal, let's say, for example, I say, you did this. Men were loyal when they had to be. A man met a woman, you were in high school, we had to get married to have kids because society expected us to get married to you, so we had to, and we had to take care of you. You're complaining that you need help. We had to give you a house. We had to work. We had to raise the kids. We had to be loyal to you. We had to be home every day. We had to take you to church on Sundays. We had to. Then you said you don't like listen to us because we expected you to cook dinner. You didn't want to cook dinner and you want liberation. So now what are you doing? Now you're running around chasing men who have all of the options on the planet. And you're wondering why he's not loyal to you. Well, you want him to sit down with only you. How many beautiful women in the world are blowing up his phone? He's the guy with the yaw. And I'm not saying that people don't get married anymore. I'm not saying any of these things. What I'm saying is that women in their years where they would have had a very clear purpose, where they're at the height of their reproductive years, for example, they're at the height of their hormones. Their clear purpose would be love my husband, have children. And now they don't have that. They just have social media, distractions, endless offers, money, gold digging, OnlyFans, dating left, right, and center, Taylor Swift, bullshit on the news, all of these hormones inside of them. They're told they're a boss, but they also don't want to work, but they also should work, but they also should have all this money just because they exist. And then they know this other girl who has all this money because she's dating 6 or 7 different men, and they're just running around sleeping with everybody. And my question is that better for society than a woman meeting a man, falling in love, and getting married? Men still want that. Ask the average man, what do you want? I want a woman, I want some children, I want her to listen to me, I want her to be loyal, I don't want her to be a hoe, I don't want her to talk to anyone else. Men still want the same thing. Women have changed. Most women, of course, exceptions exist. Most women don't want to obey a man anymore. So women changed the game, and women said, we don't want to obey anymore. We're going to change the way society functions, because they thought it would be fun. And they thought that they would have this liberation and girl power and all of this garbage. So now we're in a situation where we described how the girls act. Let's describe how the men act, because there's 2 categories of men. The men who can get girls and the men who can't. Well, the men who can't get girls, they just sit online all day and have checked out of society. They play video games and trade crypto and smoke weed. The system, by and large, has no problem with them, because although the population is collapsing, although there's a population collapse, they're just importing people from other parts of the country and destroying cultures in real time to keep the populations up. The reason they have no problem with the people who don't reproduce and have a wife and have kids and have family is because it's very difficult for a man to stand up and protect a society if he has no vested interest in the society. He can just leave or check out, right? If a society is collapsing all around him, but he has a wife and kids, he's going to want to stand up and protect his home and house. If he just sits in his bedroom playing video games and society is collapsing, he makes memes and thinks it's funny. And then you have the men who can get laid. And the men who can get laid have worked very hard to put themselves in this position. They've worked very, very hard to finally achieve the status and the wealth and the capability to be attractive to women in a hyper-competitive dating market. They're spoiled for choice. All of the beautiful women in the world, to some degree, want a man which is semi-like them. And men who manage to get to this level of life naturally optimize their minds for competitiveness and for competence. So if you find a 23, 24-year-old man who managed to make millions and millions of dollars because he naturally optimizes for competence, then he's in good shape and he's very logical about things. And he can get all these different girls and he sees how all of these girls act and he sees very few of them have any values. What's he going to do besides just tear through a bunch of them? This is all women's fault. Women did this. We were perfectly prepared with the societal setup until women said they didn't want to listen to us. They wanted to be sexually liberated. They wanted to run around and sleep with whoever they wanted. They didn't want to listen to their fathers. They didn't want to listen to their husbands. And they want to be out there doing whatever. And then they want to flip and reverse it because they don't want responsibility. The average woman on the street, if you ask her what she wants to do, she says, I want to go to school and I want to go to college and I want to have fun and I want to explore and I want to travel the world. And I don't want to listen to a man and I want to go all around the world. I want to go backpacking and I want to go to Dubai and I want to go on a boat. And then when that's all done, maybe when I'm 35, then I want to meet a nice man. Then I want to settle down. When men hear this, we're saying, okay, so you want to run around and sleep with everybody. And then you want some dude to pick up and pay the bill at the end. No, I don't want to do that. Any man who's optimized for competence refuses to do that. Now, if I, right now, in a hypothetical, because I don't talk about my personal life very much because I have enough enemies. If I went out there and met a virgin, 23-year-old religious woman who's never been with a man, who's going to obey everything I say and trust me to guide and lead her, would I marry her? Yeah, of course. It's not about being anti-marriage. What I am is anti the choice of wives that exist in the world today. If I'm going to go to Miami and meet a girl and be like, oh, she's my girlfriend now, and people say, so when you getting married, you've been together a while, I'm going to say fucking never, because I don't know what she was doing before I met her. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be that guy. And the reason I'm not going to be that guy is because I have been the guy who looks at a girl getting married thinking, bro, if you knew what I knew about her. I can't be that guy. I'm sorry, I can't. And most men optimize for competence can. And there's not a single man out here. There's not a single man out here in the modern world of this misandrist, matriarchal world where everything about being a man is demonized. If you're remotely masculine, you're called every name under the sun, who's going to go out there, dedicate himself, work hard, be motivated, struggle to become rich and important and successful and finally make it out the matrix, the 0.001%, to then pick up some woman who'd been running around doing whatever she wants and just marry her and spoil her so that she can eventually take half his stuff. Men aren't doing that. And it's women's fault. This world we're now in, women have tried very hard to make themselves playthings, most women. And then they also they complain or they want the world to change when men do nothing but play with them, is what they are. If you want to restore marriage, then you have to restore the incentives for marriage. Women have incentives for marriage. Men currently have no incentives. Masculine incentive needs to be restored. And the masculine incentive is for us to have some responsibility and accountability and power for those things. Why would I be responsible for a woman? And why am I accountable for all of her mistakes if I can't give her any kind of order or control or what to do? If I'm the captain of a boat, if the boat crashes, I'm the guy who gets in trouble. That's because the whole crew listens to me. If I'm the captain of the boat and I shout orders and the crew ignores me, then how can I be responsible for the boat crashing? So most men now are in relationships. If the woman crashes the car, he has to fix it. He's accountable. He's responsible to pay all the bills and take care of her and make sure that she's safe. If someone breaks into the home, he has to get up and risk his life against armed intruders to ensure she's alive. He has all the accountability and all the responsibility, but he can't tell her anything. So how can you not, are you the captain of a boat where everything is your fault? All of the work is yours, but you can't give a single order. It's kind of interesting if you look at a history book. All these different cultures and different civilizations which never even met operated the same way. The man was the warrior and the protector and the provider, and the mother and the woman was a mother who was in charge of the home. And this was the synergy between the man and the woman, whether it was the Aztecs, the Chinese, the Mongolians, it doesn't matter where, the whole planet, men and women operated the same way.
Right.
And this is not an idea that could have been spread because this is cultures that never even met. The Aztecs never met the Chinese. These are very far away.
Yeah.
Why did things operate this way? Because it's the natural order of things. So now what we're doing is we're messing with the natural order of everything all of the time. And we're trying to psyop everybody at home into believing that destroying the natural order is going to make things better. But of course we don't know because it's untested, it's untried. What's actually funny about everything is that as we disrupt the natural order between men and women, it's actually hilarious how it's still men that have to enforce all the female ideals and all the female power anyway. It's still men who have to end up enforcing it. It's just men who have been cucked by the system to some degree. I got in an argument with somebody when the Taliban retook Afghanistan. The Taliban, I was on Piers Morgan, and he sat me down and he said, what do you think about the Taliban preventing women from going to school? And I said, well, I don't live in Afghanistan. I'm not Afghanistani. I think the Taliban have a very difficult job to try and be the government of a war-torn country like Afghanistan. I'm sure that their decisions are not always perfect, but it's their government and they're a sovereign nation, and we believe in sovereign nations, don't we? So they made their own decision. And he said, well, don't you think that's disgusting? Don't you think that the girls should be allowed to go to school? We should do something about it. And I sat and said, why don't the women do something about it? Why do men have to go die? I thought, no, this is girl empowerment now. Girls going to school, girl power. Girls need education, girls. So if it's all girl power, why do I, as a Western man with nothing to do with Afghanistan, have to strap on a backpack and I have to go die? Turns out there is no girl power without men prepared to die for it. There's never been girl power without a man behind it. There's no such thing as a girl boss. There's no such thing as any of these things without a man at some point who's prepared to defend the girl. I think a girl boss is a woman who gives her man status, which is what we've talked about because she's not a whore and she hasn't been all over the place. A woman who gives her man status, inspires her man to take care of her, gives him the things that he can't find out in the world without her, has a happy family with him and a happy home. That's a girl boss to me. A girl boss is not someone running around saying, I hate men, I don't need men.
100%.
And all those women who say, I don't need men are liars because you do need men. Because the second you get in trouble, you're going to call a man. Being obnoxious with your opinion, and I'm not saying obnoxious with your personality, you can't be societally retarded, but to be obnoxious with an opinion in general is a masculine trait. To sit and say, I've said it this way and that offends you, but I said it this way anyway because I'm not afraid of what you're going to do about what I've said. That's the masculine imperative in the first place. To sit and say, I'm going to talk this way and all 20 of them will get mad, but I can fight all 20 of them, so I don't care. That's the masculine imperative. So a lot of people, men understand it and go, yeah, he pissed everyone off with the way he said it. But that's actually a masculine way to do it. It's very feminine to sit and go, well, I don't want to make you mad, but I think that maybe there could be.
Yeah.
And that's how they're trying to neuter men in general across the entire Western Hemisphere. But they want us to talk and think and act that way. And I refuse to do it, which is why they hate me so much. But I believe the primary objective of the attacks against me is simply to try and blunten my edge. That's what they want to do. They want me to say sorry. They want me to bend. They want me to break. Because everybody else who was a cultural force in some degree in the modern times has bent or broken. I mean, you look at Peterson. He ended up a drug addict and he lost his brand and all these things are happening. If I would have just stood up and cried and said, I'm sorry from the Romanian prison, all of this would have been over. That's all they want me to do is destroy my own brand. They want me to calm down and shut up and sit down. And you know, I get so much satisfaction from being annoying to my enemies that I refuse. I'm as stubborn as they come. And I'm going to talk the way I want to talk. And I'm going to say the things I think the way I think them. It's actually a sign of success where people talk about f you money, but you can have a f you personality and a f you attitude. I don't need anybody to really like me. And I don't need anybody to talk to me. And I don't need to talk to anybody. So I have this, I'm very open and honest about the way I think about things. And I say them exactly how I think them. And sometimes if they aggravate or antagonize people, I enjoy that because it allows me to read their emotional leakage or get a read on them as an individual. If I meet somebody and I sit down and I say something and they lose their mind, well, then I know they're an idiot. How can my words control your emotionality to the point where you're now genuinely upset? You're an idiot. If I sat down with somebody and they said something racist to me or something horrible to me, or they said I was a human trafficker, I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter to me because I don't see their opinion as important. But when I sit down with people and I say something which is not only true, usually hilarious, and people lose their mind, well, then I just know they're clowns. That is the primary objective of the Matrix in the first place, is to elicit emotional leakage and emotional attention from people who have no vested interest in the subject at all. I mean, they can get people who are emotionally riled up over subjects they don't even understand or know. This happened recently with the Houthis. It was funny. Before Trump started bombing the Houthis, I noticed the news was talking about the Houthis all the time. And everyone's walking around going, yeah, we have to get the Houthis. I'm like, you didn't even know who the Houthis were 3 days ago. You didn't even know where Yemen is. But they could just make you dislike these people so they can murder them en masse. How do they do that? Because they can emotionally affect you. I can't be emotionally affected. So why do I talk the way I talk? Well, if I walk in a room and I say something and 7 people end up emotionally affected, well, then I know they're dipshits. I'm trying very hard at my stage in life to avoid dipshits. So I don't really see any of the negative from speaking the way I speak because I don't really need to be liked. I wouldn't be this way in corporate because I couldn't, but I don't need to be in corporate. So I'm okay. You know, I guess it's just a life decision I've made. We talk about FU money. It's an FU personality. This is what I think. This is how I say it. If you don't like it and you don't talk to me, you lose. I don't lose anything. You lose. So I guess that's how I go around and that's how I speak.